kwa gazeti, kwa magazines. I would cut out those two picture labda ya Arizona, ya States, na kata hiyo kapicha na kaweka mahali. I just loved that scenery. My name is Job Mbugua. I'm a documentary filmmaker based in Nairobi, Kenya. I shoot purely documentary videos. Those are company CSR, corporate CSR, or any specific story that needs to be told. We have specialized in telling stories for those people who have no voice. Those are women, children, but also to make money to sustain the company. We also do a lot of corporate videos for very many different companies. Hey, growing up, those are very many years back, taking me back. But growing up, I was a very cheeky boy, always in trouble, whether it's at school or whether it's at home, because I hated being grounded. I hated just sitting down. So I was always trying to find out what does this thing do? What does the TV do? So I'll find myself opening up the TV, messing it up. So I always got a beating at home. Outdoors, I was always very active. Kama nile ya kumwaga maji kwa mahali kuna mchanga, tunaenda kuteleza. That was my childhood. It was very enjoyable. Whatever I'm doing right now falls in line with that in terms of shooting. Requires a lot of creativity. It requires for me to also be very active, to be always on the move, to try and look at life in different perspectives. Like for my style of shooting, I do not want to get the same shots that everyone else is getting. So when I hold the camera, I'm always trying to find out what will happen if I change this setting. What will happen if I try this new angle. So that is basically me growing up and how my childhood is applying to whatever I'm doing right now. I went to JKUAT, studied IT. So content creation and creative sector was nowhere close to anything that I was planning to do. But growing up, when I finished Form 4, my mother had promised me that if I do very well, she will buy me a gift. So when I was asked what I needed as a gift, I chose a camera. So those two film cameras, kama ulikuwa unaweka film, unapiga. So I used to love filmmaking, not filmmaking per se, photography. It was just photography because one of my best friends growing up alikuwa mtu wa picha. Tulikuwa tunaita mtu wa picha. Those people that will come to your gate once every few weeks, take a picture, and then hawataleta hizo picha mpaka film ijae. So it will take 2, 3, 4 weeks. Saa zingine nazunguka na yeye, I try to convince people to have their photos taken, ndio film ijae haraka. I can't point out to that exact moment where I realized I love film, because watu wanasemanga ni movie, alikuwa na watch movie, akajua anataka kufanya hiyo. Growing up, we were not well off. So hata ka Great Wall tulipata much later. So for me, I just used to love seeing pictures of places, of things. Kama zile mnaenda kupigwa picha kwa studio, unaona that picture of Mombasa, mnasimama hapo ndio Mombasa iko kwa background. For me, I was more interested in finding out where is this place that this picture was taken. So that is how I fell in love with photography, not directly with the art of taking photographs, but with the art of traveling and seeing these different places where these beautiful photographs were being taken from. Kwa gazeti, kwa magazines, I would cut out those two picture labda ya Arizona, ya States, na kata hiyo kapicha na kaweka mahali. I just loved that scenery. So after campus, I studied BBIT. So my path was all set. It's IT. I loved coding, programming, making websites and softwares. And I stumbled onto photography through a very good friend of mine called Namux. I was assisting him shoot some fashion photography. Na alikuwa ananiambia una need kujua kushoot, ndio ile siku siyuko wewe unaweza chukua kamera na uende ushoot. So nikakuwa curious too. So when he's taking these photos, I'm always behind him, naangalia ni setting gani ameweka kwa kamera, namuuliza ukichange hii ina change nini, light ikikuwa mingi unaguza gani. So hivyo pole pole until I bought my first camera. Nikon it was Nikon D5300. Yeah, I haven't been in photography for the longest time. I know most of my friends have been shooting for 10 years, 12 years, but I started actively shooting in 2020. In 2018 to 2020, I was more of a hobbyist. I was still very much doing IT and shooting on the side. And then in 2020 is when now I just decided to do the shift. Got my first Sony camera, Sony A7. It wasn't even A7 something, it was just A7 in 2019, and then started trying it out in 2020, and then later upgraded to the Sony A7 III. And Sony cameras are purely made, not purely made for, but more powerful when it comes to video. That's how I ended up drifting from photography to video. I would look at the photos my friends shooting Canon had taken, and they were so good, and I'm not getting those colors when I'm trying to shoot Sony. But when I do videos on Sony, everyone wants to know, hey, you will shoot aje? Hey, settings zako zilikuwa gani? So I ended up gravitating more towards video. And in 2021, I abandoned photography altogether and started doing video full-time. The biggest challenge for me in the photography, videography world is that as much as I was a creative child growing up, creativity for me is something that I have to learn to do. I have to research, I have to do a lot of research. Some people just hold on to the camera, they look at something and they think, this is a beautiful frame, and they get that shot. For me, I have to do a lot of research for any project that I'm going to take. And when I was starting, Kenya hakukuwa na so many videographers. So most of the things that I was learning, I had to teach myself, I had to go online, try and find the resources that apply to me as an African filmmaker. Most of the content on YouTube was mostly Europe, things to do with European photography, European videography, their skin color. Now to localize most of what I was learning was quite the challenge. Most of the settings that I was seeing online were not working for our authentic African skin colors, because I love colors. So I had to learn through making mistakes and evolving and creating my own path. Right now, if you look at the Kenyan market, there are so many videographers. We have communities that we can learn from, we have communities that we can help each other do things. But if you look back at 2018, 2019, even finding people who are shooting Sony, because I was among the first people to start shooting on Sony, even finding someone that can give me a Sony lens to use. I think I just knew one person who was shooting Sony back then. So that was the biggest challenge that I got. Finding equipment, finding knowledge, and even just finding the space to create. It was illegal shooting in Nairobi until 2 years ago, 1 year ago. So I really struggled with expressing myself. With photography and with filmmaking, there's no shortcut to anything. You have to go there, you have to do the work. So if you are getting started right now and you have a camera, not necessarily an expensive camera or anything, even just your phone, go out there and shoot as many times as you possibly can. For you to identify your niche, it will be a process of elimination. So shoot everything, shoot as many times as you can, and you'll find your crowd, you'll find whatever you need to do, and you'll settle into any genre of photography that you generally or naturally gravitate towards. With Cameras Africa, we have a very good working relationship in that Cameras Africa understands that equipment is not cheap. So I've been getting sometimes payment plans for some of the equipment I'm getting, and sometimes very good discounts. Being also someone who does Sony workshops, I've been, I will say, privileged, because it's not even per se all deserving, because I know some very good Sony videographers in Kenya, but I've had the privilege of being a Sony trainer on some of the workshops they've been doing, and so I end up getting a bit of discount on most of the cameras that I'm buying. My favorite gear that I bought from Cameras Africa, that's a tricky one because I love my FX3, but also one of my most helpful items when I'm shooting is my Atomos Ninja 5, the monitor. I wasn't one for monitors much, but Parag just told me, get this one, go try it out. If you love the monitor, then pay for it. And I do not think I'm nowadays able to shoot documentary content without the monitor, especially when I'm shooting outside. But Atomos Ninja FX3, I would say the FX3. Yeah, I'm loving the colors and everything that comes from the FX3 and from the Sony 50mm 1.2. Sometimes we get bogged out shooting corporate commercial paid projects. We lose that creative touch. So once in a while I just come to town. I love the cityscapes, I love people walking, so I'm just documenting everyday Nairobi life. People walking, cars stopping on traffic lights, the people who are shooting from around town. So just everything, I'm shooting everything and anything that I think I might need to just create content. The tip that I will give any upcoming photographers is that it's now possible to shoot in town without hiding from Kanjo. So come, explore, enjoy, shoot as much content as you can, release this content. We like the content, whatever we don't like, as long as you're creating from a place of happiness, a place of excitement, we love the work, just that. Cameras Africa is equipping storytellers.